Okay, when you've purchased a new phone, you can't wait to try out all the features it has to offer. But after a while, you tend to get bored, and that's when you start thinking about buying a new one. Unfortunately, what many don't realize is that at times, manufacturers don't exploit the phone's true capabilities due to various reasons, and one of the best ways to achieve that is by rooting. And here we're just speaking of an Android smartphone. Some devices can be rooted in minutes, others take a little research. One thing is clear, rooting your phone can be one of the best ways to get to know the deep potential of your Android smartphone. So what exactly is rooting? Rooting your phone is a process of modifying the operating system that's shipped with your device to grant you complete control over it. Android is based on Linux, and those who don't know, Linux is a computer operating system. And by default, it gives users only limited access to the system. When you purchase your device, there are certain files and systems that you cannot access because they are blocked by the manufacturer. Acquiring root access grants you elevated permission so that you're able to access those files, allowing you to modify, replace, and even delete them. This allows you to take total control over how the software of your device looks and works. You can consider the analogy of the root user being equivalent to the administrator user in Windows. Okay, applications on your device just can't get root permissions whenever they want. They have to prompt you, and you can either confirm or deny the request. The application that provides root access and asks for permission from the user is called as super user or super SU. Here are some of the reasons that might compel you to root your phone. To get rid of bloatware. Bloatware are the apps that are pre-installed on your phone and cannot be uninstalled just like that. I told you that acquiring root access lets you modify or delete certain files or apps. So now you'll be able to relate to it. And also there are certain apps which cannot be totally moved to the SD card. Having root access makes this possible. Having root access allows you to create certain modifications by installing Xposed framework, which I'll be talking about in my upcoming videos. So please subscribe. There are also certain interesting applications like Greenify for battery saving and Titanium Backup, which backs up and restores your whole ROM. Okay, ROM. This is the main part of the video and probably the only reason I made this video. One of the reasons to root your phone is to install custom ROMs. And this is a reason as to why almost 90% of the Android users root their phones. Now what is a ROM? The term ROM has multiple definitions. Technically, ROM stands for read-only memory, which means you cannot write to it. It is read-only. Now, device manufacturers refer to the operating system that is included in your device as ROMs because they did not intend you, the user, to replace it. So whether you call it a ROM, a firmware, an operating system, it all means the same thing. So in short, a ROM is an operating system. Most programs and even the entire operating system are written from a source code. A source code is a human readable set of instructions that are built into files that your phone can understand. In case of operating systems like Windows and Mac OS, most of the source code is kept hidden from the public. But with Android, this code is made public and are licensed in such a way that anyone can reuse the code. So that is why Android is known as an open source platform. About 1 or 2 times a year, the Android operating system is developed, which is known as AOSP or the Android Open Source Project, which after testing is then released to the public by Google. They provide the source code to anyone who wants to download it. As soon as a new version of Android is released, the source code is sent to all the manufacturers, and the manufacturers add their own UI and customization on top of the pure Android that Google sent. The ROM that we see on Nexus devices is a pure and vanilla form of Android. For example, if we look at Samsung devices, it looks quite different than the ROM on Nexus devices because it contains too much of unwanted apps, theming, and Samsung calls this modified ROM of theirs as TouchWiz. In the same way, other manufacturers also modify the pure Android that they get from Google and create a whole different ROM. Like HTC calls their modified ROM as Sense, Xiaomi calls theirs as MIUI, and OnePlus calls theirs as Oxygen OS. Have you ever wondered why your device manufacturer does not encourage you to root your phone? Okay, consider that you have a somewhat old phone like the Samsung Galaxy S4 and you've got Android Lollipop as the last update for your phone. Your phone is capable of updating to 6.0 Marshmallow too. But if Samsung still updates your phone, there are chances that you would stick to your old phone rather than buying their new smartphone. So it's a loss for the company. And let's consider that you root your old Samsung Galaxy S4 and install a custom ROM which is based on 6.0 Marshmallow. Due to the same reason, you won't go for the new smartphone lineup, and again, it's a loss for the company. The most popular ROM available for almost all phones today is CyanogenMod. CyanogenMod developers start adding features, fixes and improvements that Google didn't include in their OS to the CyanogenMod code, which benefits all the devices. And many of the features that CyanogenMod introduced in their ROM were slyly picked up by Google and introduced in their next version. The screenshot feature is one such example. There are many other ROMs other than CyanogenMod. You just need to go to xdadevelopers.com and enter your phone model. Then you'll get a list of ROMs available for your device. Lastly, let us see the general procedure to root an Android phone. There are 3 basic steps. First is to unlock the bootloader. Now, bootloader is kind of fancy term. Bootloader is a line of code that is executed even before your Android system boots up. The bootloader's code is specific for each make and model of many Android devices. Bootloaders come locked because the device manufacturer does not want you tinkering with a software that they work so hard to optimize for that particular piece of hardware. Unlocking the bootloader allows you to tinker with the phone's firmware or operating system and even replace it with a custom ROM. It is important to note that unlocking your bootloader will erase all the data stored on your phone. The second step is to install a custom recovery. Now here's another fancy term. Don't worry, you'll get an idea of all the terms once you root your phone. Now, a recovery is a piece of software that is separate from the actual Android operating system. Its purpose is to make changes to the operating system at the core level, such as deleting user data, applying updates, and more. The stock recovery is limited in function, so if you're planning on modifying or rooting your phone, you will need to install a custom recovery. Popular custom recoveries are TWRP and Clockwork Mod recovery. A custom recovery will allow you to make backups, restore them, wipe partitions, install custom ROMs, and more. The third and the final step to root your phone is to flash the root file. Flashing is a process of installing some sort of software or code via your custom recovery. Fine, this was a general method to root any Android device. For device-specific information on how to root your phone, head on to xdadevelopers.com and search for your phone model. If you find difficulties, let me know in the comment section. And that's it for this video. Please subscribe to the channel if you want to see more of such videos. Thank you.